Welcome back into the Blurred Wire. It's your host, King Whale, and it's been a minute since I was able to do a TV show review. Um, Last one I did, I think, was oh yeah, I do one for Invincible too. See, now I remember all these great things that I got to review that I haven't had time to do. I did get to review The Mandalorian and Grogu recently with my friend Kevin. Again, thoroughly enjoyed that movie. But now we're going to talk about a Disney Plus series instead of a Disney Plus series that turned into a movie, but a character in it who we may see in a movie very soon, and that is Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Now, obviously, I kind of broke down a little bit of Daredevil Born Again Season 2 when it first came out, asking some questions about some things about Bullseye. So this review won't be too long, because I think in a lot of ways it was better, but I still not sure where we there's still a lot of unanswered questions, I think, for me, and I think for a lot of people as well watching. But I think they want to do a season three, and that's what kind of makes I think they're preparing for this to keep going even after Doomsday and Secret Wars and all these things. So let's start with some of the things that I really enjoyed. I do think the season was a lot more focused than the first season was. I felt like there were some breaking off parts in the first season that didn't really seem to make sense. Kingpin established his vigilante task force, but there were a lot of it seemed like there were some storylines. Like I think Muse was originally going to be a bigger storyline, and then they kind of dropped it. You had the whole random St. Patrick's Day escapade with Daredevil. So it kind of seems like they wanted to Disneyfy it, and then they decided not to Disneyfy it. But even in this one, it was kind of I don't know. It's almost like sometimes when they were trying so hard to make sure they didn't Disneyfy it, sometimes they went too far or almost too hard, and it's like it kind of made it almost unrealistic for it to be this gritty and intense somewhat. Um, but I don't think they did a terrible job with it, and I do think that the it's hard because the Netflix shows really captured the grittier tones without trying. It didn't feel like they were trying, and I feel like that's the hardest part. But again, when you're going from Disney, you kind of already have this perception, so it's kind of like no matter what, they're gonna have a perception of trying to capture it. You know what I mean? Um, so overall, I think I liked a lot of the storylines. I think the storyline with Heather Glenn slowly descending into madness. I do kind of wish we got more exchanges between her and Karen. That I think would have been a lot more interesting. And I guess we just kind of accept that Daredevil Matt is with Karen now, which I mean, it's been a storyline before, and obviously someone he cares about very, very much. But they just kind of they didn't allude to that at all in season one, and then in season two, it's just like accept it, which like I said, it's fine, it's normal, for them to be together, especially in the comics and given their history. But it is kind of funny how it's just like now a thing. Um, Secondly, I think I do like the storyline where Bullseye ends up killing Vanessa Fisk. I do like that because I think it gave some gravitas to the show and gave some consequences, things happening, things affecting the storyline. I almost wonder if that should have started off the storyline or something like that instead of Daredevil saving, Kingpin, having that have been the end of season one of Bullseye killing Vanessa Fisk just so we have more time for Kingpin to wallow in it. Um, I mean, his descent, like we kind of saw his descent into madness, but like we didn't really. Again, I think it would have given us a little more time. Now they definitely stretched it out a little more with whether or not she was actually dead or not, and I was hoping so badly. Like, okay, she got shot. The way it happened, like, let's not make this a thing where she like mysteriously survives. And so I'm glad that her character ended up dying in that moment. And as much as like it made sense to have Daredevil and Punisher like teaming up to take down ATF, the Anti Vigilante Task Force guys. I don't know if I love the idea of Daredevil and Bullseye seemingly teaming up or putting aside their differences to take down Kingpin. That's not my Bullseye. That's the only part that I'm not sure if I really agree with, because especially the things that he's done in this show, killing Foggy, is kind of unforgivable. And so, like, again, I understand Daredevil feeling a need to still try to save his life even when he's shot, and that he should be serving his days in prison, not being bleeding out in the street and killed by the ATF. But seeing them fight alongside each other is just a little still jarring a little bit. But even Bullseye was like he had, and Bullseye losing his interest. I think that's the thing. Like Bullseye's fixation and obsession with Kingpin and Karen kind of took his fixation off of Daredevil, and I think he's at his best when he's obsessed with Daredevil. But once he kind of like I feel like this season he kind of realized there's no legitimate beef he has with Matt Murdock. It's all with Wilson and Vanessa Fisk, which kind of shifted his direction. So even though Daredevil was still mad at him and still fighting at him, Bullseye just didn't care because he already got his revenge on Daredevil. So, and it also kind of feels like again, we will get a season 3 and it will be interesting to see, but like, feels like we don't really know what to do with Kingpin's storyline. And like, again, not every villain has to die. Not every villain has to, die in order for their storylines to continue, but getting a deal to get shipped off to the coast at the end of the season, heavy spoilers. Sorry if that wasn't going to be clear. Heavy spoilers in this episode. But, it kind of feels like a sweet deal for a guy who murdered a lot of random people. And again, maybe we'll explore more. Like, he's such a great villain, but once you become the mayor of New York, and then the New Yorkers turn on you again, I don't know. It kind of feels like they're starting to run out of ways to go with his character. And in Marvel Comics, I can't remember exactly how his mayor of New York status went or ended. And that's why it almost is kind of like, did the Echo series even happen? Because her healing all that hate in his heart, and like he still just like brutalized those people that were coming for him. Like, I do think it was a cool display of strength to see Kingpin, going up against normal people and just sending them flying from one punch and kick, and like, his strength and his ability. Um, but again, it to me the deal that he got at the end, like I guess that's the only way to kind of get him out of the story, but I don't know. It feels like they're running out of ways and things to do with it, and I think that's starting to show. Maybe in Daredevil season 3. I mean, again, they weren't planning on concluding Kingpin's storyline, but they were concluding the Mayor of New York storyline. So we'll see. I do think Jessica Jones was a cool addition. I do like that she was in it. I kind of wish she kind of been in it a little bit more, introduced more towards the beginning. Would have been a little more helpful probably for Daredevil and everybody. Um, and I do think it's kind of cool if they went with a storyline where I was wondering who was going to be the father to her kid, and it was Luke Cage, just like the comics, and that was cool. Because sometimes people will veer off of something if they don't feel like it makes sense, and Luke Cage was with Claire. I can't remember how season 2 ended, but they didn't really have. I feel like he and Jessica had more chemistry than even Luke and Claire. I feel like that pairing just made more sense. Not even just because they were both superiors, but even just them interacting with each other. Like, I think Jessica Jones just kind of feels more comfortable around. Now, does Luke feel the same way about her? I mean, obviously because they're together, but I think that's why that one made so much more sense for me. So yeah, it was more focused, but I'm also like, where are we? Because I mean, Kingpin is still alive. He's just somewhere on the beach, still wallowing in Vanessa's death, which again, I still think we should have taken more time with. And it's like, what do we end up doing with this? I guess the most interesting part is that Daredevil is now in jail because Matt Murdock's identity has been revealed. Well, I guess Matt Murdock is now in jail because Daredevil's identity has been revealed, which I think was kind of interesting. I kind of wish they spent a little bit more time in the courtroom too, because that was very cool. But again, it feels like, what's Kingpin going to do now? Like, is he going to convince everyone that he's not a criminal again? Is he going to run for president? Like, what's going to happen? So it's very tough for me to like kind of rationalize exactly all these things that are going to be that go into play when it comes to what Kingpin's future is in the MCU is. But obviously they're planning on bringing him back for season 3. And so the question is season 3 going to be is the season 3 going to happen after Doomsday or before? And how is that going to play into it? So obviously there's a lot of questions, not a lot of answers. But let me know what you thought about Daredevil season 2, Daredevil Born Again season 2. If you think season 5 is, if you think season 3 is set up well. if there's anything that you would change or anything that you didn't like. And thank you again for joining me on The Blurred Wire. Thank you so much for watching The Blurred Wire. I hope you enjoyed the last video. Make sure you check out some of these other ones that you might also end up enjoying. Make sure you drop a like, comment, and subscribe so we can keep the conversation going. And tune in for next time on The Blurred Wire. Thanks again.